Welcome back to the Scaredy Cat Guide, my friends. My name is Ginny, and today we are talking about Tiana's Bayou adventure in Magic Kingdom. If you're new here, this is the channel where we talk about Disney and anxiety, we talk about sensory issues, and really just anything that you might want to know if you're an anxious rider at Disney World, like me. Now, many of you are probably familiar with Splash Mountain, the ride that came before it. Tiana's is just a retheme, so the track is exactly the same, but of course, it is a very different ride, and we're going to talk about it all. So without further ado, let's dive into those details. This Princess and the Frog themed attraction contains a 53-foot log flume, 3 smaller drops, animatronics, and a long ride time. So let's start off by talking about the elephant in the room here. Now, as a log flume ride, this absolutely has a pretty tall drop that you need to be aware of if you have anxiety like I do. Now, this drop will not come as a surprise to anyone. You can see it from the outside of the ride. And of course, if you are familiar with Splash Mountain, the ride that came before this one, it is the exact same drop. So as far as thrill elements go, this will be exactly what you remember from Splash Mountain if you've ridden it before. Now, that being said, we are looking at a 53-foot drop here. Just to put that into perspective, the little drop that we find on Frozen is 28 feet, so about half as tall, whereas on the other side of the spectrum, we have the big drop in Expedition Everest coming in at 80 feet, which is significantly taller. And if you're looking for a drop in Walt Disney World that's pretty similar to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, I would point you to Slinky Dog Dash with a drop of 50 feet. However, I will say that I feel like Tiana's drop feels just a little bit more intense than Slinky Dog Dash. In my opinion, just because this drop is unlike the rest of the ride, it can just feel a little bit more heightened and a little bit more intense. However, on paper, it just might be encouraging to know that it is very, very comparable to the one you'll find on Slinky Dog Dash. Now, on top of this giant drop that you can see from the outside of the ride, we also have 3 smaller little drops that are much less intense. Now, these drops happen throughout the ride's runtime. They're pretty spaced out and definitely more of a slide down than any sort of real thrilling drop, at least in my opinion. Now, of course, they might seem to kind of come out of nowhere or be a little bit unexpected, and especially if you don't know that they're coming, you can feel your ride vehicle about to go down a drop, and it can kind of ramp up that anticipation and make you think that maybe you're going over the big drop, even though it's a little psych out moment. However, if you know that they're coming and know that we have 3 little drops, they're really not much to write home about. Now let's talk about animatronics. Now, once again, if you are familiar with Splash Mountain, I would say that as far as animatronics go, Tiana's Bayou Adventure is a lot less intimidating. While we absolutely have many animatronics on this ride, they are a far cry from the little critters that we had on Splash Mountain. And what I mean by this is, if you remember, we had some older models, some older animatronics, some very shifty little critters and creatures that were very often malfunctioning. And of course, if you are in any way averse to animatronics, they could be a little bit creepy. Now, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, on the other hand, has the brand new animatronics. They are the newer models. They are super smooth, and in my opinion, they definitely stay out of that uncanny valley. Now, of course, they are very friendly characters and ones that you'll recognize from the movie. And I think all of these things combined make it a pretty palatable experience when it comes to animatronics. Now, moving right along, let's talk about those ride vehicles. Now, just like with Splash Mountain, we have individual log flume boats. Each boat consists of 4 rows and seat about 2 riders per row. Now, each row does have a shared lap bar, and I don't find these particularly confining as a very claustrophobic rider, mostly because there is no overhead harness or any restraints like that that would make it super confining. Now, that being said, I will say that this ride does have a claustrophobic element, and that comes in the form of its very long ride time. So just like Splash Mountain, this attraction clocks in at a whopping 11 minutes long. Now, this is definitely on the longer side when it comes to other attractions in Walt Disney World. Most dark rides come in at around 4 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that. So this is really twice as long as the average. However, it is a very entertaining ride, and at least for me, it doesn't feel quite as long as Splash Mountain, mostly just because it's very entertaining and there's a lot to look at. The animatronics are beautiful, and I would say just the pacing in general is a little bit faster narratively, even if the ride itself is just as long. And now that you have all the facts, let's actually go hop in line. I am so excited for this one. I just love the vibes of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So let's go hop in line together. You'll find the entrance to this attraction in the Frontierland section of Magic Kingdom. Now, after entering the queue, you will find yourself in this lovely New Orleans themed area. There are some jazzy tunes playing on a radio station in the background. Luckily, there is a little bit of cover from the sun just from the trees that are in this kind of courtyard area. And of course, there are a few fans, but let me tell you, like with many of these outdoor queues, it can be very, very hot in the summertime, so just be prepared for that. Now, aside from the awesome theming, there's really not much to this little section of the queue, so you will just wind back and forth until you find your way into a little indoor section. Now, don't be deceived, there is no AC in this particular section, but it is covered. There are some very cool props in this section. You get to see this little office area with a typewriter and all of these cool little bits of lore from the Princess and the Frog story. Now, before you know it, you'll find your way back outside again, but only briefly. You'll make a quick little turn and find your way up some stairs that will head into the rest of the queue. Now, luckily, from this point on, there is some wonderful AC inside, so you don't have to worry about that heat. You'll make your way through and find yourself in this cute little kitchen area. There will be a pantry, some beignets that are in the middle of being made. They always look so delicious here. And really, you just wind your way around this cute little scene before making your way down a hallway and to your first cast member. Now, this is where the line converges with the Lightning Lane, and from here on out, the line is pretty short. You'll continue in this indoor section and find yourself in this kind of mine shaft area. Now, as you can see, even from the signs, the ceilings and walls here can feel a little bit confining. We have those rocky walls that we've become very accustomed to with other attractions in Walt Disney World. And while I don't think this section of the queue is really enough to warrant a warning for claustrophobia, it might be worth knowing if the line is particularly long. You will have to deal with this little mine shaft area, brief as it is. However, the AC is blasting in this area, and in fact, it's really, really cold, which to me felt wonderful because I was here at the end of July, but it is a brief little respite from the hot sun. Now, as you make your way through, you will just meander through this mine shaft area and very quickly find your way to the loading station. You will come across another cast member who will sort you into your lanes. Once hopping on the attraction, you will lower the lap bar and the ride can commence. Now, once the ride sets off, you will loop lazily around the front of the attraction. It's very chill and calming and gives you a great view of the amazing theming on this ride, so I love this part. And after coming around the side of the mountain, you will go up your first lift. Now, lifts can be intimidating for a lot of people, especially when they're in the context of a thrill ride, because of course what goes up must come down. However, I would say this lift is not too terribly intimidating, mostly because you get this awesome animatronic of Tiana that you get to see on your way up, and just the vibes of the ride are pretty relaxing at this point, very fun, and it really doesn't have that thrill ride vibe, if that makes sense. Now, after saying hi to Tiana, you will find yourself up at the top of the mountain in this little outdoor section. There's also a great view of that water tower coming through here. And after passing through this area, you will find your first little drop. Like I said, this one's not very intense, just like the other two smaller drops that you'll find on this attraction. So after dipping down slightly, you will find yourself inside. Now, this is where the story really gets started. You enter this beautiful nighttime swamp scene. You see fireflies dancing in the distance, and you come across Tiana, who tells you that she is looking for musicians to play at her big party tonight. You'll pass many cute critters and little characters that are all auditioning to be those musicians. And of course, we will come across our lovely friend Louie, who helps Tiana along her journey. Now, after encountering a couple of musical groups, you will come across Mama Odie, who very playfully shrinks you down to size, and you'll find this second drop right here. This is probably the most intense of all of the little drops. It's still not that bad, but it's worth knowing that it takes place in the dark and can be maybe just a little bit unexpected. Now, once being shrunken down, you will find yourself the size of a frog and enter this very whimsical area where you'll find lots of little critters and mushrooms and fireflies that all look massive to you because, of course, you are frog-sized. Tiana and Louie find you down here and are very impressed with the tiny many musicians you've found down here. Now, after this little section, you will find Mama Odie again, who will offer to bring you back to human size. Now, this is the lead up for the big drop here. You will go up this very long lift that to me feels a little bit more intimidating than the first one because you know that that big drop is coming. However, the theming here is very whimsical and it's really not nearly as ominous as the drop and the lift were in Splash Mountain, if you remember those. Now, just before coming to this drop, you will find Mama Odie just to your left and very quickly find yourself plunging down this 53-foot log flume drop. This is by far the most intense part of the ride, and I will not lie to you, it absolutely will give you that stomach in your throat feeling. It's a pretty hefty drop, even by other thrill ride standards. And just in case you missed it from all of the signs on the outside of the ride, you will most likely, if not certainly, get wet, so prepare for that as well. Now, after this drop, you will end up in this little outdoor section once again, and the rest of the ride has a very meandering pace. You'll find your way through these little cave areas and go down one more small little drop, this one's really tiny, before entering your last dark ride show scene. Now, this is the big finale, and it is beautiful. You'll find Tiana and Naveen, her entire family and friends as they celebrate at this party. All of our lovely critter musicians that were found along the way are present, and they serenade you out as you move on towards the unloading station. We get a last little nighttime scene with a couple of frogs, and of course, say goodbye to Mama Odie on the way out. And with that, you will find yourself disembarking and exiting the ride. And there we have it. What do you think about Tiana's Bayou adventure? I would love to hear how you guys think it compares to Splash Mountain. Do you think it's more intense? Less intense? I'm really curious. While of course the track is the same, I kind of think it's a little less intense just because the theming is a little bit more whimsical, a little bit more fun, at least in my opinion. Now, as always, if you liked this video and this ride review and would like to see more like it, don't forget to like, subscribe, stick around, stay a while. We would love to have you in our little community of anxious riders. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.